What is going on, guys? Welcome to week 10 in Daily Fantasy Sports. We're talking DraftKings tonight. We got a great guest coming on for week 10. As you know, as you may or may not know, Tim is actually in Hawaii getting married. So we got a great guest to come fill in for him tonight. Of course, we're going to be doing our usual, our top plays, our values, our stacks, our locks of the week, and my new favorite segment, the sick call that I haven't been able to hit all season long. So hang tight there. We got a great show on the way.
Going for two, kickers are extra, I give them the boot. Ooh, going for two, sit back, relax while I grab me a brew. Ooh, now I'm reclining while putting my time and I'm ready to go. My spine is aligning and much my lineups, my bank account grow. I am so rich, but knowledge is all that I'm leaving it with. Ooh, listen to this, multiple options, how far can I get? Ooh, DFS Dynasty redraft tonight, I'm not finishing last. I'm finishing past any and all, I am looking to last. What else? This spot is popping and I am so locked in and only opening the door when it is opportunity knocking. And all of these spots keep on talking and talking. So what are we talking? What kind of alignment? And running it deep, even players forgotten or came from the bottom or hitting that top end. And this spot is popping, yeah, this spot is popping. And woo! This is the armchair, yeah. Put up your arms, yeah. Sound the alarm, yeah, yeah, yeah. Woo!
What is going on, and welcome to episode 404 of the Armchair Fantasy Show. I am your host, of course, Geoff Lambert. Follow me on Twitter at JeoffLambert77. Of course, I mentioned at the top there that Tim is in Hawaii currently. He is getting married, actually already married, and he's enjoying his time in Hawaii. But the show must go on. So we are rocking out tonight with Gerson, man. What's up?
What's up? What's up? What's up? Congratulations, Tim. I'll raise my glass to you. Cheers. Uh, uh, Tim, you're a great guy, so I hope it all works out. Obviously, it's just no, man. You better do all the chores around the house too, man.
All right. As I also mentioned, we have a great guest tonight. He was on the show earlier this season, Mr. John Hesterman. You can find his stuff at DLF Football and also on Fantasy Pros on Twitter at John_Hesterman. What's up, John?
Hey guys, thanks for having me on again. Apparently I didn't screw up bad enough last time, so I'll see if I can fix that this time.
Yeah, you hit your sick call last time you were on the show, so that's one thing that I haven't even done, and I've been on all the shows, so great job to you for that one for sure. All right, fellas, we have a full slate of games tonight, so let's go ahead and just jump right into the rewind.
The Weekly Rewind. Rewind.
All right, we'll kick it right here with you, John. Give me one good and one bad from last week.
All right, for the good, Devon Achane. I had written him up as being a potential slate breaker, and the cost wasn't like so out of the world that he was hard to fit in the lineups. And he finished as the RB2 overall in full point PPR. So yeah, it worked out.
Yeah, that's a great call. What about your bad?
Romeo Doubs. He has the most consistent target share in that wide receiver core. I thought it was a smash spot for him. Obviously, it didn't work out as for the Packers or for Doubs. He finished as wide receiver 54, well below where I had him.
Eesh, yeah, brutal. Gerson's having some issues with his connection, so we'll get him on in just a minute. I'll go ahead and give Tim's one good, one bad from last week. His one good, and he actually smashed in his one good. And that was Gesicki, of course, the tight end for the Bengals, balled out last week for everybody. His one bad is a little bit rough. He got hurt like on the third play of the game. Chris Olave got set out to dry by Derek Carr and got out with a concussion. So that was an unfortunate situation. He probably could have had a good game if he would have stayed in. So that was his one bad. Let me get Gerson back in here now. Gerson, give me your one good and one bad from last week.
My bad. I switched to my Wi-Fi. My one good was actually the same one as like him, like basically Ashan. I had a lot of Ashan. John and I mean, like we're two brains, we're pretty smart. But no, I had a lot of Ashan. I got really lucky though. I pivoted at the end in my GPP roster. I had Ashan, Kamara, and Chase Brown. and I felt great about it. But then when a lot of players got hurt, that's when it sucked.
Yeah.
But my one bad was Dak Prescott. I think this is like the second time I've talked about this too.
Yeah,
So like it's back to back, I think.
yeah.
But yeah, I mean the Dallas Cowboys, man, like they only let down Cowboys fan as if that's not enough. They let down all of us, you know.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah, that was pretty brutal because Dak Prescott was a popular play in cash too. Luckily, I avoided Dak Prescott in my cash lineup and did okay. One guy that I had in my cash lineup actually brought me to the promised land because for the first, I don't know, the first early games, I was not doing so well. And then about 3/4 into this game, I wasn't doing so good either. And then Jackson Smith and Jigba just went nuclear. I think he ended up with like 40 points, had him in my cash lineup. I mentioned him on the show last week. So, yeah, he was definitely my one good. And my one bad was going with the Giants defense. I came in thinking, okay, they lead the league in sacks. They may give up some points, but if they can get, 5 or 6 sacks on Jaden Daniels, this would be good. They ended up with getting 0 points. So it was a wasted roster spot for the Giants. So that was my one bad last week. But overall, I think we hit on a lot of our plays. So it was a good week overall. All right, let's jump into the quarterbacks.
Let's talk quarterbacks.
All right, Gerson, why don't you kick us off here? Give us one of your favorite plays on the slate for a quarterback this week.
So this guy I'm gonna have a lot of exposure to. At first, I was like, oh man, I don't know if I can do it because I just don't like playing quarterback that is kind of like not sketchy, but like I guess you can say just like on the fringe. Oh yeah, he's done good, Sam Darnold, 6,200. I mean, if there was ever a quarterback, oh yeah, he's done good. It's definitely him. But I'm looking at the matchup more than anything. Against the Jacksonville Jaguars, they allow 8.6 fantasy points per game more to quarterback. I mean, their passer rating, they allow 113.4, and they allow the second most yards per game at 278. I mean, that pass defense sucks. I mean, there's no ifs, ands, or buts about it. And I believe, I can't remember the quarterback there was only one quarterback that didn't have a good game against them, but I think he got hurt or something. I can't remember who it was though. But whoever it was, something happened in that game. But the Jaguars, I mean, it's the team we pick on. It's what did Tim call it? The flow chart.
Yep.
So it also doesn't hurt that you have the best wide receiver in the NFL who's gonna torch him. And on top of that, we just saw what Jamar Chase did on Thursday Night Football. I'm pretty sure he told Sam Darnold, you see what just happened on Thursday Night Football? I want that this week.
Yeah, exactly. These guys are always in competition for sure.
Right.
Don, what do you got for your favorite play here?
Yeah, and this is going to kind of slide into the value category as well, and it's going to sound weird, and I'm not super excited about it, but I kind of like Aaron Rodgers this week. He's been below 15 fantasy points once in his last 5 games. Obviously, Devontae's in the mix now. He's still got Garrett, so if one's getting doubled up, you go to the other guy. Still got Breece Hall back there. The Cardinals allow the 12th most fantasy points, including 1.2 passing touchdowns per game. Rodgers has thrown 2 or more in all but 3 games this season. So at 5.7K, I really think he's set to outperform that cost, and he's someone you can easily build a stack around.
Yeah, I love that call. That's one that I hadn't looked at, but you're right. That's a good call there for sure. I'm going with Brock Purdy. The Bucks are dead last.
Homer.
Yeah, Homer. They're dead last in DVP versus the quarterback, 19th in DVOA. They're on a short week after a tough overtime loss, and the Bucks struggle in pass mainly at the linebacker spot, and that's I think where they're going to put the most pressure on. You got guys like Kittle that works underneath. You got Debo working underneath. You got Christian McCaffrey back in that offense. They're going to be firing on all cylinders. I like Brock Purdy a lot at 6.5 at Tampa Bay this week. We'll go back through one more time. Actually, let's just mention who we have. So Tim, I'm going to mention Tim. He had Josh Allen, who I also have on my list at 7.7. And then Gerson, you have Jaden Daniels at 7.5 and Russell Wilson at 5.9. But
Can I talk about Russell Wilson?
Go ahead. Yeah.
Okay. So I was pretty shocked that Russell Wilson was so lowly owned because he's been balling out. And I think that offense coming off a bye week, they're only going to get better. I mean, they get more comfortable with Russell Wilson. And I'm pretty sure. How many times have you guys watched Russell Wilson play? And people say he throws the prettiest long ball ever, or the prettiest ball ever. I mean, those balls are going pretty dang good to Pickens. And I swear, Pickens has probably more reverse touchdowns than anybody in the league. He has to have like the most compared to the whole league altogether, you know?
Yeah, he does have.
And they're only going to get better. The other wide receivers are coming along with them. And I mean, Fire Moose is there, but it's just to me, the price is incredible for what I think in this game could go kind of more of a shootout. I know a lot of people see the Pittsburgh Steelers, but I think it can go into a shootout. 5.9K for Russell Wilson. Um, it's just contrarian, and I know it looks ugly, but if the Commanders score 24 points, what the implied total is, and the Pittsburgh Steelers score 21, that's a 45 point implied total. Let's say the Steelers actually match up with the Commanders, you know? They can go into a shootout. It's gonna be my favorite game to target as a GPP player. It might be dumb because it's the Steelers defense, you know, but I'm trying to get a little different, and I think that's the way I'm gonna get different this week is with Russell Wilson.
Yeah, I like it too because it's got some condensed targets, right? I mean, he's only targeting a couple guys in that offense, and it's really easy
Mhm.
stack. So if there's going to be 2 touchdowns thrown, there's a good chance that both of those could go to Pickens. You stack them with Pickens, and you're sitting pretty. The other guy that I'm going to talk about in this value tier down here at 5.2 is Justin Herbert. He's another guy that I'm surprised is this cheap. He's been playing really well the last couple of games. Obviously had that injury to start the season. They've kind of been trying to find themselves as an offense, but has at least 17 fantasy points over his last 3 games, 2 touchdowns in each of his last 2 games, and some good cheap stacking options. You can go Lad McConkey or you can go Quentin Johnson for a GPP. So some good stacking options there as well. So I do like Herbert versus Tennessee at 5.2. It just seems a little bit too cheap for me. All right, and that's it for the quarterbacks. Let's go ahead and jump right into the tight ends.
Did somebody say tight ends?
John, why don't you kick us off here at the tight end spot? What's your favorite play or one of your favorite plays here for tight end?
I think my favorite right now has got to be Cade Otton. He's the he's the tight end 5 in yeah, I got a lot to go here. He's the tight end 5 in fantasy points per game, but he's the tight end 1 in fantasy points per game over the last 3 weeks, averaging 22.9 points a contest. He's got everything going for him: volume, target share, all in his favor. Don't get me wrong, it's not a juicy matchup. I think Tennessee is about the 20 right now, currently like the 23rd worst team to target as far as the tight end position. But with the injuries they've got at the receiver position, he's become a favorite target. He can move out a little bit. He can cover underneath. He's got the volume. He's got the target share. And let's face it, Baker's been slinging it. So he's one of my favorite plays this week.
Yeah, I love it. He's on my sheet as well. I'm going to go next here with the guy on the other side of that coin with Mr. George Kittle. So, we look at the 5.8 and we look at the tight end position. Like, do we really want to pay up at tight end? George Kittle is averaging 18.5 fantasy points per game. If he were a wide receiver on this slate, only 2 guys are averaging more points than he is. And that's CeeDee Lamb, who's 8,600, and Justin Jefferson, who's 8,800. Those are the only 2 guys averaging more points. And we're paying 5.8 for George Kittle. So if he can give you his average on the season at 5.8, he's basically a receiver playing tight end. So I love George Kittle a lot. And I know Tim is a big talker on the 2 tight ends in a lineup. I kind of like the 2 tight ends. I like the 2 tight ends from this game, actually. I like doing the Kittle and Otten stack if you can afford to fit that in there. But at 5.8, you're getting Justin Jefferson type averages, at least when it comes to George Kittle at 5.8. So huge savings there.
This is a really great game for game stacking, just in general, with the different pieces and the potential potential for points to be scored. So I really like you just mentioned, this game is a great game for game stacking.
Absolutely. Gerson, what do you got for one of your favorite plays here at tight end?
I do think I think you said it. I don't know if you meant to say it like that though. A double tight end week is possible this week. I think you can play. I think it's like 3 weeks ago, or maybe 2 weeks ago, where we had like 4 tight ends that we really loved, and I feel like the same way this week. Obviously Travis Kelce is at the top. He's gonna be get peppered and targeted and whatnot. But Evan Ingram, 5.3K. Brian Thomas is gonna play, but Gabriel Davis is out, I believe. And then I know that it. What do you call him? What's the nickname they gave him? There's like a funny one.
For who?
I forgot. But anyway, I mean, when you have a replacement quarterback, usually right away, like Mac Jones, um, he's gonna hit the tight end and running back. I mean, he doesn't have a lot of chemistry with Brian Thomas. It's gonna be. I mean, he can probably hit him on a one big play, but Evan Ingram's gonna be that little blanket for him. And at 5.3K, he's gonna get if he gets 10 targets, which I think he can easily get at least 8. I'm gonna get him and probably just run it back with like in that game, in that game environment with Jefferson and them. You can play him. I think that's the guy I feel most comfortable with as a run back. I mean, you can do Brian Thomas, but Brian Thomas is not cheap anymore, guys. He's a little bit more expensive. So you're paying up for him with Mac Jones. I don't know about that, but I'd just rather go 5.3K with Ingram. It's just a game environment more than anything. So what's their name? And the other thing was the Vikings are going to pressure him. They're going to pressure the hell out of him. That defense is just going to blitz. Mac Jones going to have to get rid of the ball quick.
Yeah, agreed, 100%. Tim's got T.J. Hockenson mentioned in that same game at 4.7. I think it's a price thing for the T.J. Hockenson upside. I think he played 40% of snaps last week. Can he get up to 65% snaps at 4.7? He's pretty viable as well. And John, you have one more tight end there that I also like in Kincaid. Talk about him a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, he's quietly tight end 12 on the season, which is actually pretty impressive when you realize he's only got 2 touchdowns, which puts him in regression category. He's got the 5th most targets among the position. In Indiana, they're pretty friendly and forgiving to tight ends. They're allowing the fourth most fantasy points to the position and an average of 59.2 yards to 0.6 touchdowns per game, just the tight ends. So yeah, for the sub 5K cost, he's got the target share. So yeah, I kind of like that play too.
Yeah, good stuff. All right, we'll move down into the value column. And Gerson, I'll let you talk about Mr. Tight End / running back / whatever quarterback Taysom Hill at 4K.
/ missionary / BYU player / golfer down here, down the street from me. In case you don't know, John, I live in Utah. But
Gotcha.
yeah, tomorrow BYU Utah game. I'm excited for it, man. I'm gonna get drunk as hell, but I'm a Utah fan. So Taysom Hill. Last week he was my sick call of the week. He hit. Tap on the back. But yeah, we saw it last week. They had nothing really going on. They had Kamara, and that was it. Olave got hurt. Well, Bubba Means out. They got tight end, but you don't know who's going to get the ball. But we know who's going to get the ball. Kamara and Taysom Hill. They're going to get a lot of usage. At 4K, I think it's cheap. I don't think it's overpriced. And the other thing about Taysom Hill, we always ask for what? Red zone usage and touchdown. Well, if they're in the red zone, they like to run a lot of plays for him.
Yep.
And Kamara. So if Taysom Hill back there and he gets me a touchdown and 50 yards and let's say 4 catches, 3 catches, he's hitting value right away. Yep. But it's cheap. They don't really have anybody to throw to. I don't even know the wide receivers they have. I probably can't name them. I know Bubba Mean was one of them. Olave's out. Bubba Mean was one of them. Who else? Rashid Shaheed was out. Who are the wide receivers there?
MVS is there, believe it or not.
Oh, my goodness. Yeah. Don't do this to me.
Yeah, I forgot about that. Yeah.
Yep, absolutely. I have a note on Taysom Hill, too. In 5 games versus Atlanta since 2022, Taysom Hill is averaging 12.5 fantasy points against them. He is Atlanta Falcons killer. I mean, he just seems to always show up against the Falcons and should have a pretty big role and a chance to do it again in this game at 4K. You definitely can't pass up on him.
And a Mormon boy ain't no killer. Relax.
And then we got one more guy in that 4K range, John, that we all have on our sheet as well. That's been getting a ton of volume. He just can't seem to punch it into the end zone, but he's been doing pretty well for us. We can go ahead and talk about Hunter Henry a little.
Oh yeah, Hunter. I didn't realize we all had the same guy there. Yeah, he's got the volume. I mean, he's averaging just shy of six targets a game. He's had some pretty decent yardage game. He's had one 100-yard game, another 92-yard game. Just allergic to the end zone. And the real what's really enticing here is how tough Chicago is against wide receivers, leaving him the most liable to be open in coverage. So I do think the potential for the over on targets here does exist. And regression again. I mean, this guy's due for another touchdown or two. So I do like him in that price range as the value guy if you're kind of punting at the position.
Yep, absolutely. I like that a lot. All right, let's go ahead and jump into running backs.
It's time for running backs. Running backs.
All right, Gerson, why don't you take one of the running backs that is not one of the locks of the week and go ahead and talk about one of them.
I love how you say it's not the lock of the week.
I know sometimes take one of ours, so I wanted to make sure.
Oh, you guys switched it up. Okay. Wait, how many lock of the? Oh, that's Tim, huh? Okay. Oh, I forgot Tim. Ooh.
Tim's here in spirit.
He still gets a say in this, huh?
Yeah, Tim. For those in the chat, Tim woke up this morning at 6:30 Hawaiian time before his wedding and filled out the show sheet, knowing that full well he wasn't going to be on the show, but he filled it out his show sheet anyway. So we got all his plays on the sheet. So
dedication, baby.
Yeah, he's married to the game, that's for sure.
It's called a funeral. It's called a funeral and a marriage in the same day. That's what it's called. Guys, crazy. Alvin Kamara. I mean, I just talked about it. They don't really have anybody. They have Alvin Kamara, and to show you that they only have Alvin Kamara, last week, just imagine a running back's body, especially, I mean, people don't know this, but Alvin Kamara is actually pretty big, like, in weight-wise for a running back. He's like 215, 210. He's not, like, as small as he looks out there. But 39 opportunities, 29 carries. He saw 9 targets. I don't know how he feels the next day, but I'm pretty sure his body wasn't feeling very good. But Dennis Allen, fired. Done. One of the things I always like is coach's narrative. I do believe in those. A lot of the players, once a coach gets fired, they get motivated. They get, like, rejuvenated? Is that what it's called?
Yeah.
They want to play for that. Whoever's next, they're done. They want to forget about the last 7 games. They're like, yeah, the first 2 games were cool, but now we're gonna see a lot of usage from him. We do have to look at Jamal Williams because if he plays, it kind of hurts a little bit. But I'm not too worried about it. It's against the Falcons. I'm not. This game, you're gonna have. It's kind of crazy. Not a lot of people are talking about this game, to be honest.
Yeah.
And they just traded away Marshawn Lattimore. He's one of their best defensive players, and they were really struggling in the last 7 weeks. So it's going to be interesting to see how much usage he get. He is expensive though. He's 8,100. If you play him, I think right now he's coming up as one of the highest owned running back though. I think he's number 2 or number 3.
Yeah, he was 1 when I looked at it. Yeah, he's currently number 1.
Yeah, so give me tomorrow.
Yeah, I like it. All right, I'll go ahead and get to our locks of the week.
Lock it in.
I'll go ahead and do mine and Tim, who also has his lock of the week at running back. I'm going with Aaron Jones at Jacksonville at 6.7. Jacksonville gets up the 3rd most points to running backs. He's had at least 21 opportunities over the last couple of games. And should be a positive game script for them. Obviously, Jacksonville is going to be, they're a little shorthanded, and they're not very good to begin with. So at 6.7, I love Aaron Jones a lot this week. I actually made him the cover boy on our show. So Aaron Jones is my lock of the week. I don't see any way that he doesn't smash this week. I think he'll be involved in both the running game and the passing game. And then Tim has Saquon Barkley at 8,300. Expensive price to pay, but he even predicted his stat line: 150 yards plus, and he can get a touchdown as well. So Saquon Barkley coming off of his reverse hurdle, whatever that thing is, whatever they're calling it.
Amazing. That's what we're calling it.
Yeah, that was absolutely amazing for sure. That was awesome. So yeah, Saquon Barkley, expensive price tag, but definitely someone we can look at playing this week. John, what do you got for your running back?
I like DeAndre Swift this week. 6.5K, so it's a moderate price range. 4 out of the last 5 games, he's finished as an RB8 or better. He's averaging 19.3 fantasy points per game in that stretch. So he's been coming on after kind of a weak beginning to the season. He's really kind of come on. New England's allowing the 5th most fantasy points to running backs, including about 124.6 rushing yards per game. That is the 2nd most behind only the dreaded Carolina Panthers. So for the money, I really like Swift this week.
Yeah, Swift's a great call. I have Swift on my list as well, and it's a great matchup. And you're right, he's been very good over the last couple of weeks. After a slow start to the season, he's been the only bright spot really with the Chicago Bears lately. So yeah.
Have you ever seen a running back in fantasy go from like almost droppable to all of a sudden like he might be a league winner? Like he's been killing it.
Yeah, he's been crushing.
Yeah, that was Doug Martin eons ago.
Yeah, yeah, exactly.
He was very much that way.
Yeah, I have a D'Angelo Williams story where I actually did drop him, and then he went and had 12 touchdowns to close the season, and I actually had to play him in a championship game and lost because he scored 4 touchdowns in that game. But
was that the Pittsburgh year?
That was no, that was when he was in Carolina.
That was while he was in Carolina. Okay, I know that he had 2 of those, and one was in Carolina, and then the other one was in Pittsburgh.
Yep,
he killed it in Pittsburgh.
Yeah, absolutely.
He did.
Let's see. Let's go back through Gerson. You still got a couple names there. You got James Conner and you got Bijan. Talk about one of those guys.
Well, I think within the last 4 weeks, I've talked about Bijan back to back to back. I'm going to do it again, man. Guys, I promise you, he's not my favorite player in the NFL. He is up there, though. He's one of my favorite players. But with Bijan, New Orleans defense has not been as elite as people think it is. And like I just said, Marshawn Lattimore losing him. And this game could go very ugly. If the New Orleans, I think it's more on Derek Carr. If Derek Carr doesn't come out there and even look semi-good, they could intercept the ball and take it to the red zone. And next thing you know, it's Bijan time. And I keep saying this every week. I mean, I think 3 weeks ago he was 7.2K, 7.3K. Last week he was like 7.5K, and now he's 7.7K. Okay, we're starting to get to the point. I'm a little uncomfortable, but I'm comfortable, you know? It's just usage. Every week it's kind of weird though. If you look at the running back usage for like rushing attempt, like 1 week is 40% Bijan, and then it's like 50% Bijan, and then like they give like 30% to Algier, and then they switch it up, and then all of a sudden Bijan's the guy. It's off and on, off and on. And well, this week it's gonna be on. So hopefully it's Bijan time to shine against New Orleans. I haven't projected for almost 23 points. So that's a big high amount. And that when we say projected guys, it's more like the median range, you know, like what we want him to get.
Mm-hmm.
But the ownership is matching up with it. He's at 22% ownership. It's just to me, he's probably one of my favorite plays. But again, there's those other guys like Aaron Jones, tremendous play. Alvin Kamara, tremendous play. I love the Swift call, obviously. But I'm just going to keep rolling with the hot hand with Bijan. Hopefully this game just blows out. And I don't know how much they're going to rely on Drake London with that. Well, they said it was a hit point, and all of a sudden it was a hamstring injury.
Yeah, it's switched up a little bit. I don't think he plays this week. I think he sits out. So
yeah, I think so too.
That could be a benefit for Bijan as well. I'll just last few guys that we have on the sheet in the top here. I had Breece Hall. The volume's been there. Touchdowns haven't been there. I think he can get into the end zone this week against Arizona at 7.6. So I like Breece Hall. Tim has Kareem Hunt at 6.6 on his sheet. And as I mentioned, Gerson also has James Conner, who's been kind of a volume king right now at 6.5. Another one of those mid-tier guys that we're looking at. Let's go ahead and move down into the value tier here, John, and give me the guy you got there in your value.
Yeah, I like Austin Eckler this week for sheer value. We were waiting for the status on Brian Robinson, who is trending towards playing. He's already been ruled out, so Eckler's going to get the start again, and it's starting in relief for Robinson. Last week he finished with 83 yards on and I think he had a touchdown last week too. So you can expect the same kind of usage. He's going to be right back to being that dual threat kind of running back that can, handle carries out of the backfield, is a threat with the ball in his hands in space as a receiver. So I think he's a good play in a matchup that's not scary enough to ward me off at the cost. So I like the cost a lot and the opportunity that comes with it.
Yeah, I agree. And with that Pittsburgh pass rush too, if you watched any of the Cardinals games back in the day when they had them as the coach, the screen game is huge is in a Kingsbury offense, and Eckler is the screen running back. And the best way to slow a pass rush down is to throw those screens. So I can see them setting up with some good screens at 5.8. So yeah, I like that a lot. Gerson, you also had Eckler on your value tier, so I'll go next. And value this week in running back, honestly, is kind of hard to find. So I had to reach, to find a guy that I liked. I went with Rachaad White at 5.9. He didn't do as much last week as I had thought he would do, but they're running out of pass catchers, and he is a pass catching running back. So he's one of those guys that if he gets 6 or 7 targets, he can pay off his value at 5.9, a pivot off of a more chalkier Eckler. Very similar type of player where he's going to catch more passes than he gets rushes. So at 5.9, I like Rachaad White a little bit. And then Tim has Ray Davis at 5.5, GPP only. And he's talking about blowout script. He could be the guy in the fourth quarter just getting all the touches. Of course, had a big catch and run last week that he got for a touchdown. You can't count on that, but at 5.5, he's another guy you can put into your tournament lineups as well. All right, let's move down into the wide receivers.
And now, wide receivers.
And I'll kick us off here at the wide receiver since both of your locks are here at the receiver position. And I'm looking at Deebo Samuel. I know that's the homer pick. I've talked about Kittle. I've talked about Purdy. Now I'm talking about Deebo Samuel. Should be fully healthy after a week off with the bye week. Obviously, I talked about the Bucs pass defenses and their struggles. I think the 49ers, early in the season, were kind of throwing the ball down the field a little bit too much. They've gone back to basics with the short passing game, the underneath passing game, being consistent and just, getting the ball in their playmakers' hands. And Debo's going to be doing a lot of that this week. I think he'll take a little bit of a hit in the running game because Christian McCaffrey will be back, so they won't put him in the backfield quite as much. But they will still have him on some jet sweeps. They'll find ways to get the playmaker the ball in his hands. And at 6.9, I think I like Deebo a lot this week. And now we'll get to the locks of the week.
Lock it in.
Gerson, you mentioned at the quarterback position that you like this guy a lot. So why don't you talk about Jay Jettis?
Oh man, Justin Jefferson, man, he can. Like I said, man, Justin Jefferson and Jamar Chase, they're gonna be like competitive brothers till the end. I wouldn't be shocked if one day these guys play together. There have been rumors that they've said that numerous times, but if Jamar Chase is not happy, with that contract, he might just leave. I don't know if he wants to go to the Vikings though, but we'll see. 8,800. It is expensive. It kind of reminded me of last week with CD Lamb. He was in a smash spot. We thought, the matchup is way, way better though. It's against the Jacksonville Jaguars. He's still leading the game, the position in 20 DraftKings points per game. This is where it's kind of shocking to me. The wide receiver position is not as strong as it was last year. Like there's been wide receivers that produce 20-point games. He has 6 of them, and the league is struggling in that right now. So for him to have that edge and in a great matchup, I mean, you look at Amon-Ra St. Brown, right? How many 20-point games can you think of that he had?
This year, I maybe one.
Maybe, right? CD Lamb, maybe one.
Yep.
The 30-point game that he had.
Jefferson had he had 2 in one game.
I mean, yeah, he got 2 in one game. Facing the second softest schedule adjusted matchup against opposing wide receiver, they allow 8.5 point fantasy points per game against wide receivers. The only thing that there's only one thing I can see him from having a huge game, like stopping him from having a huge game. It's the blowout. Like we talked about Aaron Jones. I think Aaron Jones could have a huge game in this game, and it could be the Aaron Jones show. If it doesn't, then it could be the Jefferson show. And we all know how much America loves the Jefferson show, whether it was back then or now, But I'm going to go with Justin Jefferson. I'm going to have a lot of exposure to him. He's going to be the guy that I'm probably going to pay up for the most. I do want to touch on one thing we didn't touch on. CMC is back, but I wouldn't exactly pay for him. If it screws me, it screws me, whatever. Think about it. They've kept him healthy till now. I don't think they're going to give him 30 touches in his first game.
I don't think so either.
The other thing is we didn't mention the quarterback. Herbert is a great value too. I don't know if we mentioned him or not.
We did.
But yeah.
Yep.
Okay, good. All
right. Let's get to the next lock.
Lock it in.
And John, I had this guy as a pretty close to lock already, and then we got some news today that made him an absolute lock.
Yes, yeah. So Michael Pittman has been ruled out. Not that it's that big a deal. All it is just someone else for the defense to focus on. With Joe Flacco, Downs has basically been operating as the clear-cut wide receiver 1 for the Colts. He's got a 27% target share. He's seen 5 deep targets in 7 games. Flacco can stand back there. He can sling it. He can deliver in the short to intermediate. He can deliver the deep ball. And right now, Downs is averaging 8 targets a game, and that's with Pittman still being in the lineup. So you can expect more volume from him. And it's not like Buffalo's a great matchup, but the volume is going to be really, really good this week from a quarterback that can deliver and is looking to make right on a pretty crummy week last week. So, yeah, I like Downs this week, and his cost, $6.2K, for the type of volume he should see in this game. This is the type of play you want to exploit based on cost versus expected production.
Yeah, 100%. I'm with you on that one for sure. Downs has been the number 1 receiver there, and as a Pittman owner in a lot of my dynasty leagues, I'm pretty upset about that. But Downs is definitely a great play this week. I also have I talked about him a little bit earlier when we talked about Justin Herbert, but Ladd McConkey versus Tennessee at 5.9. He's been kind of a PPR guy. Had that real blow-up game 2 weeks ago where he had 32 points, 2 touchdowns. I don't see too much of that happening in the rest of the season, but he is that guy that's sort of the 7 to 8, it's a 9 target guy every single week. He's really showing out as a rookie at 5.9. I think he's still way, way too cheap. And let's see, Tim has got, let me give one of Tim's guys. He's got Darnell Mooney, who I like as well at 6.5. Really good play for Atlanta. He was sort of my guy in this offseason as my bold call, thinking that Mooney could be a top 36 receiver. And I think he's even almost close to top 12 right now. So Mooney's been killing it at 6.5. So Tim's got him on his sheet. Let's see. You got a couple guys on your sheet. Shakir, I think, John, is a guy I want you to talk about a little bit. So he's been sort of the Bills' number 1 there for a little bit, and some injuries might open up some more targets for him.
Yeah, so he is definitely one that I've got a lot of intrigue in right now based on some of the stuff going on there. He has emerged and become more of a primary focus for Josh Allen. I think over the last several weeks, he's over a 20% target share. And I know he's got a high first read rate too. I forget the exact number, so I'm not going to try to wing it, but he's getting amped up. Like his importance, his target rate, all that is increasing as he goes. He's getting more comfortable. I know he's a versatile guy that can play inside and outside. So I'm seeing a lot more usage from him, and I like it at the cost. I think he's someone that can, again, outperform what the cost is.
Yeah, absolutely. I think I heard on the broadcast that when they go his direction, he catches like 90% of the passes or something, some ridiculous catch rate that I'd never even heard of before. So
yeah,
it's great. Yeah, that price points for sure is really good. Gerson, you got both receivers there, the Garrett Wilson and Devontae Adams at right around the same price there. Talk about those two guys a little bit.
Yeah, I mean, we saw it last week. Was it last week? Yeah, it was last week, right? They played on, was it Thursday night football?
Yep.
Yeah. They both got into the end zone and they both got yards and whatnot. But the thing was, Devontae Adams did get hit for a little bit. Like, I think he missed like a quarter or something.
Yeah.
So put that back out there. I think the second quarterback or second stack that I'm going to have the highest exposure to is going to be the Jets offense. So I love both of them, Garrett Wilson, Devontae Adams. And I think it's a skinny stack though. It's like one or the other. You know, you're not going to be able to fit both of them and then run it back with Marvin or Trey McBride. Obviously, you can do Michael Wilson, but I don't know how comfortable I feel with that. I'm good with that. I heard a podcast or something. They talked about that Kyler Murray had a kind of like a sit down one-on-one with Marvin Harrison and said, "Hey, we need to get back on the same track. Let's figure this stuff out. What do you want? Where do you want the ball? What do you want me to do?" Like, that's good. That's good that, to know that he cares about football. I thought he cared about Call of Duty coming out. I think it was like 1 week ago. I can't remember when it comes out. I don't know if it came out yet.
No, when he had this sit down with Marvin Harrison, was it at the kids' table?
Yeah. It wasn't the kid table, Yeah. Yeah. I mean, I think the game environment can go. I think it's a sneaky GPP game too. Like, I like the Jets defense, but I don't know if the pass rush has been as good as it's been in the past.
Yeah.
They do. The line is still pretty good, but I don't know. Like, it's just, to me, I think the Jets defense can still be scored on. I love the price on both of those guys, though. 7.2K. I mean, we saw Garrett Wilson get 30 points last week.
Yep.
So,
all down.
and that's funny because everybody, as soon as they got Devontae Adams, and you guys know this, you play Dynasty. Actually, John, I don't know if you do, but I assume you do if you're on this podcast.
I do, definitely.
Okay. I mean, I have 25 leagues, so I'm a nerd like that. So, everybody was like, "Oh yeah, Garrett Wilson, there goes his volume." I didn't think it was going to happen. I thought it was going to help him. He can actually get the ball to him.
Yeah.
But I love it. It's just, you got to pick one or the other. That's it.
Yep. Agreed. Let's see. That's it for the top. Tim did have BTJ, Brian Thomas Jr., but I don't know if he had heard that Mac Jones was starting when he did his sheet. So we'll give Tim the benefit of the Hawaii time zone. Because I don't know if I like BTJ with Mac Jones, but 6.6 had him on his sheet. We'll move down into the value tier, and I'll kick it off here with I think a pretty obvious value. We always talk about the Monday night misprice, where a guy has a great game on a Monday night, and then of course goes and gets mispriced the next week because they don't have a chance to actually price him. But DeAndre Hopkins, of course, had a monster game this past week, and now he gets Denver at 5.3. I think it's a tough matchup. But at 5.3 and the target volume he's going to get from Patrick Mahomes is going to be huge. So I like D-Hop a lot here at 5.3 in the value tier. We'll go to you next, John. Give me one of your value guys.
Yeah, this is going to be Ricky Pearsall, and I know you like this game. I know you want pieces of this game, so this is going to kind of tie in with a lot of the stuff you've already said. We like Purdy. We like the fact that McCaffrey's coming back. We all want to see him play. We like seeing Debo, Kittle, right? So Pearsall's the other guy, right? This is the GPP play that multiple lineup users might want to sprinkle into some of their lineups. He's going to operate as the other perimeter receiver opposite Debo, who does move in and out. Bucks are allowing the 7th most fantasy points per game, and they struggle mightily against that perimeter wide receiver. So having Pearsall on the outside, no Ayuk, that would be the role that Ayuk would play. So I like Pearsall at 4.4K as a boom or bust type option. Mm-hmm. So again, this is not something I'd recommend in cash. And if you're one of those people that you play 1 milli maker a week, don't use Pearsall. Use someone a little more tried and true. This is those folks that roll out multiple lineups. I like Pearsall in that environment.
Yeah, good call. Gerson, you got Demario Douglas there at 4.4. Talk about him a little bit.
Is it Demario or Demario?
I just call him, what's his nickname?
Pop.
Yeah, Pop Douglas.
Pop Douglas.
Oh yeah, so I've always been a huge fan of Mario Douglas, man. Like I've always played him a lot. Um, uh, dude, like Drake May is the real deal, and he finally bringing a little bit of life back to the Patriot organization. I don't know how much life Robert Kraft has left, but hopefully he can see a little bit of it. Um, but 4.4K for a wide receiver that is gonna get peppered with targets. Him and Hunter Henry are Drake May's favorite target. I know Keyshawn Butte have had his moment. Yeah, the once upon a time Debbie Darling that we all
Yeah,
wanted us to be a thing, you
yeah,
know. But the Mario Douglas is more of a price thing for me, especially in that game. Like they're gonna play from behind. They're not gonna get ahead. They're gonna play from behind for sure. Um, I I think he can get one of those long touchdowns. He's not gonna get covered or shadowed by Jalen Williams. Is it Jalen William or Jalen something? The cornerback for there is the best cornerback. Jalen something. He came from Utah. I know that. Um, but he's their best cornerback. Jalen Johnson. Jalen Johnson. Oh goodness. But he's not gonna get shadowed by him. Um, the implied total is low though. It's 16 point, guys. But they're going to be playing from behind in this game. Hopefully, because the Bears haven't looked that good lately in the last 2 weeks. So, but either way, 4.4K is not going to kill you.
yeah. I like it. Let's see. Tim's got he's got Jordan Addison at 5.3. He got Roma Dunze at 5.2. That I think is a really good play as well. He's been getting some more usage of late. And he also has Jennings in that same 49ers game at 5.1 if he plays, but I do think he has been cleared. He will play. So in the slot there, I think Jennings will be good as well. Then I'll just mention the last couple guys that I had. I had QJ Quentin Johnston at 4.9 versus Tennessee. I'm in a league with a couple guys that that I know from in real life, and one of the guys has QJ on his team, and he says he keeps leaving him on his bench, and he's like, my downfall this season is that I can't trust QJ. Well, the advantage that we have in DFS is we can play them, and they're cheap. And if we can get those games where he has 118 yards or whatever he had last week, then it really pays off the value there. So at 4.9, I like QJ a lot. And then Jalen McMillan, I've talked about it a lot on the show that the 49ers struggle to cover the slot receivers. McMillan plays a lot in the slot if he is cleared to play at 5.2. I think, before he had his little injury, I think he was getting like 4 to 5 targets a game. So at 4.2, he's a guy you can punt if you really want to in that game to get some cheap exposure, kind of like what Pearsall would be, sort of in that same range where you're just punting him and hoping that he does something in that game that's supposed to be a high scoring game. All right, let's go ahead and get to the defenses.
Defense, 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 defense.
This is where we usually turn it over to Tim, and he just tells us who to play each week. He's been the defensive guru for years here, but I'm going to get his top play, and then I'll get you two guys to talk about yours. He's got the Vikings. His little note says Flores will destroy Mac at 3.7. The Vikings is a really good play. If you can pay up for defense, that's definitely one you want to go with. Gerson, what do you have for one of your favorite defenses?
Yeah, I have the New England Patriots at 2.5K. I think Caleb Williams hasn't looked that great. I'll be honest. I honestly thought that whole offense and everything, but it's more about the line. The line struggles, Um, but I just think um, overall the whole team has struggled.
Yeah.
DJ Moore looks like he doesn't even want to be there.
Yep.
Keenan Allen looks old and fat. And then, Rome Odunze, he looks good though. I like Rome Odunze. He looks good. Komet, when he's just a touchdown guy. I guess you could say DeAndre Swift is probably the best part of their offense. That's kind of sad to say too. Because at the beginning of the season, like I said, we were thinking about like, oh, should I drop this guy or what? In season long, you're not going to drop him in dynasty, obviously. But yeah, 2.4K. What did I say?
2.5.
2.5.
Yeah. And one thing too, and I haven't checked the injury report, but I believe both of their tackles, the Chicago Bears, might be out. So the Patriots are going to have backup tackles, which is never a good thing when you're going into a game. So yeah, the Patriots at 2.5 is definitely in play for sure. They're a very cheap defense. What about you, John? What do you got for one of your defenses?
I just want to piggyback on what the absent Tim was saying. Like, I love that call, the Vikings call. I like that a lot. I think that's a smash spot for a defense, which means it's probably going to flop, but I like that one a lot. The one I have at the top of my board here, if you want to pay up a little bit, is the Eagles versus Dallas. Backup quarterback, no run game, so to speak. I mean, the run game is kind of hit or miss, and it's more miss than hit. So at 3.5K, I like paying for the pressure. I like paying for the sacks. You got a backup quarterback in there that might throw a pick or two. So I like that if I can work it into my lineup without sacrificing somewhere else.
Yeah, I agree 100%. I'm with you on that one. I'm just going to give the rest of Tim's plays here and then mention the ones that we also had. He also has the Cardinals at 2.9, who the Cardinals actually looked pretty good last week. 2.9, pretty good defense. The Broncos at 2.5 or 2.4. He says cash punt if you want to just punt the defense. And then let's see if anybody else is on there. Oh, you also have the Chargers versus Tennessee at 3.8, another pay up.
Homer.
Yeah, he's rocking the hat. But yeah, the Chargers
I'm rocking the hat.
defense. So yeah, good call for sure.
Well, Levis is going to throw a pick at least.
Oh, yeah, hands down. He's going to throw a tantrum probably.
Yeah.
All right, it is now time for our stacks.
GoingFor2.com's weekly stack report.
All right, let's kick off the stacks here with you, John. Give us your stack this week.
All right, this is a game stack. I like this game a lot. We've talked about this game several times throughout the course of the show. So a game stack, I've got Josh Allen, Khalil Shakir, and Josh Downs as my game stack for that game. I think that game could be a high-scoring affair. I like the target shares for both of these wide receivers. And if you like the target share for both wide receivers, you should probably get one of the quarterbacks that's throwing them the ball into that same lineup. So that's my stack this week.
Yeah, I love it. Gerson, what you got for your stack?
Sorry, I'm laughing about the chat message I sent you. Yeah, so my stack, I mean, I kind of already gave it out throughout the show if you haven't been paying attention. Darnold Jefferson, Sam Darnold, Justin Jefferson, Hawkinson. I know we didn't talk about him, but Hawkinson's going to be back. This is his first game back, right?
Second game back. He played
Second
game back?
Yeah.
Well, it's his first game back because he didn't do shit in the last game, apparently. But Engram, double stack it, get cheap with the tight end, run it with Jefferson and Darnold. And, man, I hope this game goes the way I want it to go because I'm getting a lot of, like, Cowboy-Falcon vibe.
Yeah.
Knock on wood.
All right, my stack, in case you didn't know, it is a little bit homer. I'm going Purdy, Debo, Kittle, and I'm doing the double tight end and bringing it back with Cade Otton. I'll play Cade Otton at tight end. I use Kittle in my flex as my quote-unquote receiver. That gets 18.5 fantasy points per game. Hopefully Kittle continues to do that. So, yeah, I like that stack a lot. I can get some decent plays there. And then Tim has a very similar stack to John. He's got Allen, Shakir, Downs, and he's also adding his sick call. So we'll go ahead and hit the drop and get into our sick calls.
And now, the sick call of the week.
All right, so I mentioned he had Allen, Shakir, Downs, and his sick call is Mac Hollins at 3,300 at the Colts. So he's actually had a couple decent games this season so far. So at that price point, 3.3, I like Mac Hollins to throw in that GPP type stack for sure. John, what do you got for your sick call?
Yeah, I don't think this is going to surprise anybody the way I was gushing about him a little bit ago. Ricky Pearsall, I'm doubling up with Ricky Pearsall. I like the price. I like the role that where all kind of rational coaching would say he would be playing. I like how that defense can't defend against perimeter receivers. And if all the attention's on the other side of the field on Debo, then I think Pearsall has a bigger game than his price tag. I could see him having one of those, having that one reception, that 140, 50-yarder, and really hitting one for deep and possibly scoring in this game. So for those who bet, I will be putting an anytime touchdown on Ricky Pearsall before the weekend.
I love it.
Got it.
Gerson, what you got for your sick call?
So I changed the sick call in the middle of the show. I don't know if you noticed.
I did notice.
I'm already getting vibes. I'm already getting vibe from when I changed it from Theo Johnson, from Jatavian Sanders to Theo Johnson. You remember that week?
Yep.
But hopefully it doesn't hit me. But just in case, everybody, my old sick call was Juwan Johnson from the Saints. Just in case. Raheem Jarrett for the Tampa Bay Buccaneers, 3.6K. I didn't know this, but Sterling Shepard might be out in this game.
Yep.
And when I saw that, I'm like, oh shit. Raheem Jarrett, man. Like, what's his price? And I went and looked. I'm like, all right, let's see where he's at. Oh, we crap, 3.6K. Nobody's going to want to play him. But you don't have no option because Raheem Jarrett is going to be the only wide receiver out there. Jalen McMillan's out. Mike Evans out. Sterling Shepard likely out. Cameron Johnson, you don't even know who he is, but he's out. Jarrett played the most snap last week too, so he also holds a 14 8 on this season. And Baker, if we know anything, he loves to sling it downfield. Raheem Jarrett, if he gets me that 50-yard catch, I mean that's already 5 points, and then 6 points. But I don't know. It's just sick call of the week, and they're gonna have to. They're not gonna be ahead. They're gonna be playing from behind in this game for sure.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Well, if you all have followed the show all season, you know that I have yet to hit on a sick call. Last week, I went with Julius Chestnut because I thought for sure Tony Pollard was not going to play. Of course, Tony Pollard did play and played well. So there goes my Julius Chestnut call last week. This week, I'm going back to the receivers. I had done receivers all season. That was my first running back of the year. Going back to the receivers, and I'm going to go with Calvin Austin at Washington at 3.5. Had a really good game. I believe it was before their bye week. He's had at least 4 targets in their last 3 games. He needs a touchdown to really get there. I think he can be a big play receiver. If he can get one catch for 50 yards and a touchdown, easily pay off his salary. But I do think that the Washington Redskins are the Washington Commanders. I almost said Redskins.
Oh,
old habits die hard, right?
The Washington Commanders have been playing a much better defense of late, but I do think they are still susceptible to the deep ball. Marshawn Lattimore is not going to be playing in this game, so he has nothing to worry about there. So Calvin Austin is my sick call. I need to break this cold streak. Literally, we're in week 10, and I have not hit a sick call. Not even close. Like my guys have missed by they haven't even scored points in some of the ones that I picked. So it's gotten pretty brutal.
And I don't know what to be feeding you, Jeff, but you're getting called food poisoning, man. You're that sick.
No.
Hey, you know what? We'll use this in fantasy football terms. I mean, positive aggression, right? You gotta happen. It's gotta happen, right?
100%. Yeah, especially when I look over at Tim and Gerson, and especially Gerson, because Gerson hates the sick call. He always has hated this segment because he hates giving "quote unquote" bad advice, and he's got.
Even though I created it.
Yeah, Gerson created the sick call, and he hates the segment. And Tim has hit on 4, and I've hit on absolutely none.
I've hit on 1, and this is my second time on the show.
So you're
100%, John. High five.
I know. I should have just left this out and been like, I don't have one. I'm leaving on top.
Retired on top. I like it.
Well, John, here's the way I put it. You have one more than Jeff, so you're doing good.
All right, fellas, that wraps the podcast up. I want to thank you, John, for coming on. Thank you, Gerson, for being here. Tim, I saw him in the chat all night. I don't know how he's possibly doing that, but Tim, if you're still there, thanks for tuning into the show. I'm curious how it is to watch the show from, Tim's been doing the show for 8 years now with us, and I don't know if he's ever been off the show where he can actually watch. I think the last time he was off, he was in Vegas, and he was definitely not watching the show then. But
right,
Tim, thanks for tuning in. Thanks everybody in the chat for tuning in as well. We'll go around the room. Just give us your Twitter handle, where we can follow you at, what you're working on. We'll go to you first, John.
Yeah, you can follow me on Twitter at John_Hesterman. I'm also getting started on Blue Sky, and that's at John-Hesterman. So if you want to look me up on Blue Sky, I'm over there as well. My work in season is primarily with Fantasy Pros, where I do a weekly DFS. Geoff knows this, a weekly DFS values article. He writes one as well, so we often kind of peek at each other's work just to make sure each other's are, keep each other honest, so to speak. And then during the off season, I do most of my content is with dynastyleaguefootball.com.
Good stuff. Gerson.
That's called plagiarism. You can't just look at John's work and then copy it, okay?
No, I'm copying Geoff's, man.
Giving out my secrets.
I'm at Fantasy DFS. You can find me on this show every Friday. You can find me on the DFS Roundtable on Facebook. And once again, Tim, congratulations. Wish you nothing but the best in your marriage. And just remember, happy wife. You don't get the knife.
Yeah, there you go. All right, fellas. Appreciate it. For John, for Gerson, I'm Geoff. Everybody in the chat, good luck. If you listen to it on audio, good luck as well. Gerson, you got to give us a go pack go on the outro here.
I got it. Go pack go!